Alright, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to take a shot at building out our form here. So if we go back to our original design here, we have a multi-step form. So in my builder, one of the first things I know I need to do on this is I'm going to take my padding off of my form here. And I think the only other thing I want to do is I'm going to do a flex column start and center on that. I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to exit the builder because everything else will be done on the front end. Actually, I'm going to leave this here for one moment because we're going to come over to our Fluent Forms, and I'm going to create a brand new form here. I'm going to do this from scratch. We're going to call this our multi-step get quote. I'm going to rename it. Excuse me. And on this one, I believe our ID is 4. So I'm going to go ahead and change that in here. Hit save. And I'm going to exit this because everything else we're going to do from the front end here. Once I reload this, you can see my form disappears because there's not anything there yet. So let's go back into our form here and start building this out. So I think I'm going to start off with, I believe it's going to be, let's see, going to remember which field it is. I believe it's going to be our step. Yep, that's what we're looking for here. So we have multiple steps here inside of this one. We're going to want our name. Actually, I want to put a container in here, and it's going to be a 2-column. I want to add name field here. I want to add email here. I'm going to duplicate this, delete, and I want this to be phone, and this one to be my address field. Now let's go through and, well, since I'm on the address field, I'll start there. All I want is the zip code from this one. So I'm going to take off my admin field here. Or sorry, I'm going to leave that there and take off this because I only want the zip code shown here. And I'm happy with that. My number, I'm just going to say phone number. And I'm going to do that here as well. I don't want to say specifically mobile. Then on this one, I'm going to remove last name, and I'm going to change this to full name. All right, so we got that first part in there. We want to create another section. So if I add, I'm trying to remember exactly how to do. See if we just add another step here. Yep, all right, perfect. And on the next one, we are going to add in a radio field. And this is gonna be called What service do you need? Question mark. And for this one, we're going to use photos instead of our standard yes, no. So I want to go ahead and build out everything we need here: plumbing, water heaters, drain cleaning, heating, and cooling. And then the last one is we'll put other in here. Okay, so let's start adding in some icons here. So our first one was plumbing. I think I went with, let's double check what we have on the front end. I'm just going to go with that wrench for plumbing. For water heaters, I believe we had a water heater icon. Yep. I'm going to use that. For drain cleaning, I want to use this one. For heating, don't know if we had a heating icon in there yet. We did not. We can just go with this one. Cooling, we'll go with the snow icon. And other, let's take a look at what we have here. Nothing specific that I want to use on that one. Maybe I'll just go with the wrench on that one. Okay, so we have all of those in there. Next, we're going to build out another page. So I'm going to add in my next form step. In here, I'm also going to do a radio. We're going to do a very similar thing. I'm going to change my name to when do you need service? And again, I'm going to use photos for this. First one is going to be emergency, and we'll say today. Second one is going to be within 1 to 3 days, and then we'll say flexible. For our emergency, let's take a look and see what we want to use for that one. Maybe we'll use the circle X on that one. Then 1 to 3 days, we'll go with our clock. And for the flexible one, we'll just stick with, I think, the thumbs up for now. And actually for my emergency, I want to switch that to this one. I probably have a better one for flexible, but I can come back at some point and swap that out. And then I also want to add in another field here. We're just going to go with a text area on this one, and we're going to call this describe your issue, and we'll say this is optional. Right now I have all of these set to optional, but eventually I will make them mandatory. And in our placeholder, I'll say, tell us what you are experiencing. Okay, happy with that. And then we'll move our submit button up if we can. Actually, I think that's all I need to do, or maybe I have to move those down. We'll test this out in a minute. I'm gonna hit save. I want to preview my design quick. We can hit next, and then it takes it to my submit. Okay, so I do need to adjust that a little bit. I'll X out of that, and I think what I can actually do is just move these down onto this page here. All right. Let's preview that again. Next. And again, it's still putting me on. All right, so we got this end of page break. Let's try that once more. My apologies on this. I'm not sure why this is not functioning how I want. I think I actually need to save this first and then preview. So we have our start, end, and end. So that should be working. Try this one last time. Yeah, there we go. And submit form, which is not what I want that to say. I want that to say get quote. And again, on all of these, I'm leaving them as optional at the moment. I'm going to hit save on this. One thing I want to show you guys is when we go to the front end, I can actually change my different styling on here, or I can go custom. But what I've learned is there's not a lot of options to actually fully style everything I want. So what I've ended up doing a lot of times on my Fluent Forms is just writing the CSS myself. So let's jump out of here, and I think there's one last thing I want to double check, and that is going to be my settings up here. Step 1, I want to say contact info. Step 2, I want to say service type. And last one is going to be project details. And that should be everything. I want it to be a steps and not progress bar. And I'm going to hit save again. Let's go to our front end. I'm going to hit refresh. And let's navigate to our form. And you can see this looks pretty ugly. We don't have the proper spacing in here and everything from there. So what I want to do is start working on the styling of this. In order to do that, I'm going to open automatic CSS here. And I'm going to do this all right in my panel here. I think if I dock this to the left, no, it doesn't push everything, but it should be big enough for everyone to see, I hope. And then what we're going to end up doing is styling this together. It's going to take a lot of inspecting in order to figure out what we need. So typically what I do is start looking through my different items and figuring out what I'm gonna, excuse me a second. Sorry, I had to get a drink of water there. Throat is a bit raspy today. What I was saying is I go through item by item and start figuring out how we want to actually style this. I think what I'm going to start off with is going to be our header here. So if I right click and inspect here, I'll have to move this probably. Hopefully we can still see everything as we want. So I think the first thing is going to be the FF step header that we're going to want to enter some code in for. So if I just start typing that here, FF step header, and for this I want my background to be my I believe that's secondary, and you can see we start to get the background on that. I want my padding to be space S, and we get some padding around it. Okay, I'm gonna hit save. One of the things I like about using the ACSS Global SAS panel here is it allows me to see everything as I'm writing it, and it just makes it way easier to do rather than trying to do this in the builder and jump back and forth and see what we're doing. This I can see it live as I'm writing all of the stuff. All right, from there I want to start looking at our titles here and changing out the specific colors and everything on this one. So I think on this one we're gonna have to go with our I think it's gonna be this one, but I don't need everything from this. But I'm gonna copy it over just to make life a little bit easier. And I'm going to take everything after LI off. And if I change my color to white, and it didn't auto expand for me, we can see it changes for the white ones, but not on the active ones. So we'll have to come back and fix that. I want my font weight to be a little bit bigger. So we'll go 600 on that. And I want my font size to be text S. So you can see my fonts got a little bit bigger there. All right, so next we need to hit the active state. So I'm gonna paste this back in, and I'm gonna delete this because I just want my active one now. And for this, I wanna change my color to secondary. Sorry, not secondary, primary. And we get our primary color there. Perfect. Okay, let's continue on down the line here. So we're gonna probably go with our item here. If I right click it, it's gonna be our before. So again, we can just copy and paste this over. That's the easy part about inspecting, is you can just copy everything right over that you want. And this one is gonna be the completed, and we'll have to probably do this the active before and the completed before. I think what I'm gonna do is just go with the active before, and this one I'm gonna go background of, I keep wanting to write secondary, but it should be primary. Okay, and then my color for that, I'm gonna want primary ultra dark, makes it a little bit darker in there, and font size of text S there as well, making it a little bit bigger. All right. I think I'm happy with that one. Next, let's hit the next step of it, which now I can delete the first part because we want to go for the completed ones. And so if I hit my next button here, we can see it goes back to our blue color, which I want to actually change. I'll have to check that for our titles as well. So for my completed color, I think I want this to be my background of primary ultra light. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's double check our text on everything. Div before, primary, ultra dark. Okay, so I'm going to inspect this because now that we have a completed one, I can find that here. Paste that in, and we want to keep that with our color of dark. Nope, I apologize, that's the wrong piece. I want that to go back to my ultra light color. So it's not going to be quite white, but it's going to be a little bit lighter. Okay. Titles, LI active. And on my before, I'm going to have to do that as well. So again, this takes a while to go through and do, unfortunately, because you have to manually find each and every piece. For my color, again, I want that primary dark. Let's see if this works for me. And it does. Okay, perfect. Next is going to be this line in here. If I click in between here, you can see my after is going to be my colors here. Copy and paste. I'm going to start off by removing this. And I want that to be my, let's see what we needed on that background of white. Okay. And then if I do the same thing for the completed one, I want that to be background of primary dark, I think it's gonna be, or let's try semi-dark. Okay, that did not change it. Let's double check this. Looking specifically after this one. Okay, and it didn't actually change that up here, so maybe we have to double check this. Let's try again. Inspect my after. Let's find my coloring here. And it looks like it should be working, but it's not. Wonder why that is. Okay, let me see what we got going on here. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, I'm going to come back to my SAS panel here. I'm going to reinspect. Let's get back to where we were. LI before and then the after. Still set to background of white, which if I unselect that, it doesn't change, but it shows it as the blue color, which it's not actually showing that. Wonder if we try and target this one instead. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so I just had to get the right thing. And let's step our form forward. And we'll look at that same after. And again, it's still that white color, so I think it's going to be our completed after that we want. And that one should be here. I know I forgot the R on that. Background, primary, semi-dark. So it should be working. I'm not sure why that is causing problems here. Subtitles, LI, completed and after. See, this is one of the downsides to doing it this way, is it takes some back and forth of testing out why this is not actually working. And sometimes you have to add in some extra stuff. So maybe if I double check this, I'm going to try bringing all of this over. And that fixed it. So it might have been just some extra specificity that was blocking that by adding in both the active after and completed after in there. It set that properly. I need to double check my before on this again, because it's not showing our text properly. Because that should have been text S from up here. So let's take a look here. It's still Fluent Form FF step titles LI before. So maybe I need to on this add that back in. Okay. Let's go previous. That's working. So I don't want these to be white yet. I'm going to leave them as I think I'll just leave them as is. Let's hit our next, and that works okay, and that works okay. Let's play with this a little bit. So next thing I want to do is on my active one, I want to also change the color of our span. Let's take a look here. Where is that being overridden? So I have my active set to ultra light. On this one. So I think what I need to do is separate this out and just go color of primary. And I think on this one, take that out. Okay. It appears to be working okay there. Cool. All right, one of the other things I want to look at is on our after, our height is set to 2 pixels. When I hit next, and it's completed, okay, we're still at 2 pixels. It just looks like it's a bit thinner, but that could be just because of the color. So I'm going to leave that. Do we want to see if we can make our before box slightly bigger? Let's see what we have going on here. Our width is set to 20 pixels. I don't see any height. I'm gonna go 30 pixels and height of 30 pixels. Maybe that's a little bit too big. 25 and 25. I like that. Gives it a little bit extra space. So we need to put that on the titles before. Let's see here. So inline size of 25 pixels. One thing to note in ACSS, I can't use the toRem function yet. That is only part of Etch at this current moment. So I just have to go with my hard pixel value. Okay, you can see all those get just a tiny bit bigger. I like the look of that. Those all look better as we go through there. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, I'm gonna hit save just to make sure I got that. Let's see what we want to look at next. Okay, so from our main page, I think we'll get some padding in here. So I'm going to hit inspect. And I think on the body is what we're going to need. So I'm going to scroll all the way down here, hit enter, and Fluent Forms .step body. Copy and paste that over, and we're going to set this to padding of space M. And you can see we got some nice padding going on in there now. That looks a little bit better. If we double check on these other ones, still looks good. Okay, I'm happy with that. All right. I'm happy with the styling of this. I think next, maybe we look at our buttons. So if I inspect our button here, we got our different nav buttons. And this one is our secondary, where it's not having no style. And I think, if I remember right from doing this previously, I'm going to have to add some more specificity to this. So let's say I go background of primary. Okay, that is working there. Padding inline of, and this is where I'm going to tie into my button framework, and I'm going to go button padding inline, padding block is going to be button padding block. Perfect. Border radius is going to be our button radius. Perfect. Our font size is going to be button font size, font weight. It's going to be button font weight. Next we have text transform, button text transform. So you can see a lot of these follow the same naming of it. So we got font size, button font size, font weight, button font weight. And that way it dictates what we're looking for. My color, I want to be my primary ultra dark. Perfect. If we look at it, there's no transition here, so I'm going to add a transition of transition. And now you can see we have our transition going there. Next, I need to get my hover and focus. So if I do and hover, comma, and focus, I can nest these in here. And I want my color, or my background, sorry, to be secondary hover, and my color to be my secondary ultra dark again. I keep saying secondary, these should be primary. And you can see that works properly there. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. I don't know that I'm going to change anything here. I think I'm okay with the sizing of everything. I may end up changing it based on these. So now we get into the fun part. Is going to be our actual radio buttons here, because you can see they're not really styled all too well, but we want to work on styling those out. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to right click and inspect. And let's see here. We have our checkable photo holders, our form check, so I know I don't want let's see here. Looking at my notes that I did on this. If I do margin of 0, I think that'll be okay. We'll come back to that. All right, let's see. So I think it's going to be my image holder that I want. I'm going to copy this over. All right. I'm going to display flex direction of column, align items of center. Okay. I want a border radius of radius. I want padding of space XS. Okay. So we may have to play around with that a little bit more here, but we're getting a good start. I want to work on my colors here and sizing. So this is my label span. I'm going to go label span. See if we can target that inside of here and go color of primary dark and font weight of 600. Awesome. Maybe we'll go, I think actually, secondary. Yeah, I'm gonna go with secondary on that. I want it to have that blue color. And I think I want my font size to be a little bit bigger. Does text S make it bigger? It does. Okay, perfect. So now we need to get these back into their positioning, which I think will also move our make our icons smaller as well. So let's play around with that. Actually, let's see here. So these are set height here. So I can actually grab this. We're going to come down and I'm going to go inline size of 50 pixels and block size of 50 pixels. And that makes them a lot smaller and fit better. I like that. I'm going to hit save here. Okay. Let's come back up here. I think I need to let's go inspect. And I think I'm gonna need to set this. So it's set to block. I'm not gonna want that. I'm gonna come back above this, paste this in here. We're going to display grid. And let's go grid template columns of grid 3. Okay, perfect. Grid or gap of grid gap, and that's too big. Let's go divided by 2. Looks a little bit better. But I'm not getting the up and down. Again, I feel like that is coming from this here. Nope. I go back to my item. We may have to change our row gap. It's putting 10 pixels of margin on that, which I don't want. Okay, let's come back up here. Margin of 0. And that fixes what we wanted. You can see our buttons came up, so I'll have to mess with that as well. All right. Let's figure out if we can find where that was again. I feel like it was in here. Okay. We're making progress, I feel like. And this is the one it was. Okay, so we want this. Oh, that's the same thing as right there. So we're gonna add margin bottom of 0. Margin block end of 0. Pushes our buttons back down. Next. Those are set up nicely. Okay, we'll have to play around with that. I'm good on that. Our previous buttons are good. Okay, so let's take a look at this one specifically. Scroll up a little bit. So, okay. So this one is set to selected. Come all the way back down to the bottom here. Enter that in. And we'll say we want our border color to be, let's go secondary. So it should match our color there. We keep the same border size. And then we need to target our span here. Let's see. I'm not sure where exactly that spacing is coming from. Okay. Add this in here. And background of transparent. Okay. And you can see if we switch which ones we have here. One thing we could also probably do is we look at the full item. Again, I'll select this one. I wonder if I put a background color on this of, go secondary ultra light. I gotta wrap that in a var. Perfect. I like that. So I'm gonna come up here on this. We're gonna go background of secondary ultra light. And that did not expand for me. There we go. So if I switch, that changes. Perfect. I like that. I wonder if we tab through this. No, okay, so it's not tabbing on those. Okay. Another thing I could maybe do on here is, let's see. No, these are coming in by background image, so I'm not going to be able to change the color on those. So we'll just have to make do with what they are. Let's take a look at everything else. I'm okay with this. Lastly is going to be our submit button. And this ends up being different than our buttons up here. Okay, so we'll put this all the way at the bottom. And I'm going to copy all of this. and paste it here. We get most of it working, but my background is not overriding. So let's take a look at that. So we have specificity of 3.1 there and 3.1 here. Actually, what I could do on this is I'm going to take all of this out. I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to come up to where my button was up here. I'm going to put in a comma. I'm going to put it there. And I think I'm going to have to do this not great trick of important on this. And I'll have to do that on the color as well. Okay, so we're good to go on that. And I think that about styles everything that we wanted. If we go back to the very beginning, next. Okay, I'm gonna hit save here. I'm gonna exit and I'm gonna hit refresh. Okay, and we lost some of our styling. Let's go back and take a look here. Inspect. We'll open up automatic CSS again. So on our LI here, let's see here. Our titles should be font S, and it's not overriding that. Form titles LI. Wonder what happens if I do this. Okay, that's good. But these ones should be white. Maybe that's what I did need on this one. I know we had that and I took it off. I want to see what happens when I do this. Okay, so I can't put it on that because of the before. So let's take that off. And I'm going to take this We'll go color of white here, and that should solve that. Okay. Save. Exit. Refresh. And that appears to be working. Next. Still getting some weird stuff going on here. Take a look. My background is set to transparent, and we need to set our box shadow on that as well. Okay. Automatic CSS. Let's see here. I think that was towards the bottom. Box shadow. I think I can go unset on that. See if that works here. Going to refresh. Not sure why that keeps getting that blue color initially. That's very interesting. And as soon as I click on it, it goes away. Yeah, sometimes you run into some really strange things going on in here. The label, my input, my span. Okay, so maybe we go box shadow of none here. See what else we can figure out. Border none, margin, width. I think what I'm going to do is take this and put it above here as well. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Hit save. I want to hit refresh. On to the next. Next. Yeah, I still do not understand where that comes from. That is very strange. Because as soon as you click inspect, it goes away. Or anytime you click on the page anywhere else, it goes away. That one is a mystery for me, and maybe I'll figure it out down the road of what's happening there. Input. Label. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. All right. I think the last thing I do want to double check on this is what happens when we go to mobile. So let's take a look, and I'm going to have to get out of ACSS for this, and I'll want to go back to my previous one. As you can see, eventually these are not going to fit properly. So I think eventually at some point here, maybe we'll go let's see. Gotta scroll up a little bit here. My holders at 372. So maybe I'll go 400 just to be safe. I'm gonna take this out. I'm gonna come back up, back to automatic CSS, into my SAS panel, and I need to come down into this one. And in here, we're gonna get a little tricky. And we're gonna add in some container queries. So first thing I'm gonna do inside of here is I'm gonna go has me, and that needs to be set to container type of inline size. And then underneath that, we're gonna go at container and we need to go inline size greater than or equal to, and we'll go 650 pixels, and we're going to take our grid 3 and drop it in here. I'm going to copy this, I'm going to paste it inside here. I'm going to go, what I say, 400 pixels is less than or equal to inline size, which is less than 650, and we want that to be grid 2. 2 will probably fit okay even on mobile. Let's hit save and exit. And refresh. Next. Okay, great. We lost some of our styling. Why did we lose that? Display grid. Let's do some inspecting again. We need to come back up to our group. It's a grid 3 because our container's big enough. Looks like we lost our source size for some reason. Two, 1. It's not even showing that. Huh. Sometimes you gotta put important on some of this stuff even though you don't want to. Let's try this again. And it's doing it again. Okay. Why is it not working? It's not even showing our values there. It's not showing that I have any errors in here. I wonder if, because they use width and height, if I have to use that there. And it's still not working. Okay. That is very interesting that it keeps disappearing on that. Because it's not even showing in here at all. But when I save this, it works. Just gonna go through and do some inspecting to make sure I didn't forget to close something somewhere. I'm gonna take off the important for now. That shouldn't matter. You can see it puts it in my styles here. I wonder if we add in I know it's in one of these other ones. Let's take a look. I think it's on my button. Fluent Form 4. And it's still not working. I apologize that we're running into this issue here. Very strange. Because we're keeping some of the styling, but not everything. And I feel like after we added in our container queries is when this started happening. Inline size greater than or equal to. Yeah, I'm really unsure of what is going on here. I think I'm going to call it on this video. I'll troubleshoot this, and maybe in the next video I'll cover what I ended up doing to solve this issue. But you can see for the most part we got that fixed here, or we got it styled out. We can click up here on which item we're on. We can choose our items, and we can get our quote. Again, it lets me submit it because there's nothing that is required at this point. Once I finish styling everything and find my issues here, I will set everything to be required besides this last one, and we should be good to go. So thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you guys learned something dealing with forms here. Again, we probably could have used WS Forms to do this as well, and maybe it would have been a little bit easier to style. I don't know the simple answer to that, but for now, this is what I've been using, so I stuck with it. But hopefully you learned something. Drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see y'all in the next video. Thanks.